Welcome back to This Bytes for You. If you've seen my last two videos, you saw me build this machine from the ground up, building, cabling, all that good stuff. In this video, we're gonna go ahead, turn it on for the first time, install Windows, update Windows, install all the latest drivers, update the BIOS, and maybe not all of that in that particular order. But we're gonna get going. I'm showing you from the ground up how to get your machine up and running. Now, also in my Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube community, I had a poll to name this machine, and Scott Elder won that poll. So I'll be shooting him over a Steam or a random Steam game or two, maybe a few other of you as well. But her name is Red Dawn. Kind of common name, unfortunately, but I had no say in it. But regardless of that, let's get into it real quick and let's get Red Dawn up and running. So one of the first things I recommend you do when you build a brand new system is to update the BIOS. I have the latest BIOS on here, as well as the latest Windows 10 installer. I'll go ahead and put links down below on where to get this and how to download it and all that good stuff. It's all free. But so let's go ahead and flash the BIOS. So this will be the first time I turn the machine on. I can tell it's working or it has power because I can see the hero glowing right over here. And I will be recording the screen on the AverMedia 2 Plus Live Gamer Portable. So don't worry too much about what's on the screen. The liquid is settling. It is the very first time I've turned her on. So I'm just pressing delete to enter the BIOS. So it's on DisplayPort, but I have it connected to HDMI. Unfortunately, it seems like I'm having a few issues with HDCP and the AverMedia Live Gamer Portable 2 Plus, along with the NVIDIA card. Sorry about that. I'm going to have to share my screen with you, but it's a 43-inch. It's pretty big. I can share it with you guys. So anyway, when we first booted, we got the fan error message, which is normal because we have liquid cooling. We also got the noise for a few seconds, the water going through it, which again is normal. It's gone through shipping and then the water just needs to go around through it. But anyway, in the BIOS, pressing F1 to skip the fan error, we'll come over here to Tool, Asus EZ Flash 3 Utility, via storage devices, because it is on a thumb drive, but I moved it. It's not on the same thumb drive as Windows. And I'll click next. I'll select that thumb drive. And then here we can find the cap. The C8 cap is what's needed to be on the thumb drive if you wanted to go ahead and do a flashback if it has a CPU that is not supported. This way, you know, you don't have to pop in another CPU that is supported, flash it, then put back your CPU. It's a great feature. So C8H is what you need in order for it to see when it's booting to it to flash that particular BIOS, since you can't see anything on the screen. So I can flash with whichever. I'm just gonna go ahead and select this guy. And yes, I want to read the file, so I'll click here and then it'll start its flash process. Yes, I really want to update. Okay, we can see it processing down here on the bottom left-hand corner. All right, so that took almost 6 minutes. That's kind of crazy. And well, I didn't hit anything there, so it kind of restarted itself. So now I'll just go back in the BIOS. Okay, so if you saw the message, it said BIOS is shutting down, don't be alarmed, whatever. And then it's booting back up now. All right, please enter setup to recover BIOS settings. All right, so F1. All right, so after we flashed the BIOS, now we're back in the BIOS. We're in BIOS version 2206. Okay, coming under Extreme Tweaker. We'll go ahead and set it to DOCP Standard. DLCP stands for Direct Overclocking Profile. All right, which is essentially XMP. And now, because these are two different types of memory, they're the same exact memory, but different date and lot codes. Here we can see two XMP profiles. I'm gonna go ahead and set it to 4000, but I'll come back a little bit later on after we install Windows. Go back to 4133 and play with that a little bit. We wanna be safe. We don't want any sort of corruption or any oddities while we're installing Windows. So 4000. With that note, for memory frequency, we're going to want to set it to 3600 due to AMD's Infinity Fabric. When we're done installing Windows, we'll go ahead and set it back to 4000. All right, and coming down here. Now, this is a new BIOS to me. This is a new board to me. So I don't know exactly where everything is right now. So I'm just going to go through everything real quick. DRAM timing. Now here we don't have to touch anything because we have DLCP enabled, which you can see here sets all of the settings. Now you can see over here 15, 15, 15 and all that. That is the JEDEC standard for the memory, which the JEDEC standard I think was 2800 megahertz, but with lower latencies. Okay. And again, we'll play with that a little bit later on. Now we don't have to worry about spread spectrums now because we're not overclocked, which we won't go overclocking in this video. We'll do that in the next video. All right, everything's good there. TPM, we'll leave that as is. CPU, everything's good here. SATA, we'll go ahead and leave that under AHCI. These are for the SATA ports, not the M.2. MV RAID mode, we can either leave that enabled or disabled. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that enabled, even though we're not in RAID. Smart self-test, we'll leave that enabled. This tests all the drives. And then we can see here the M.2s on board, which I'll have a story about that a little bit later on. Okay, now Realtek PXE or PXE OPROM and Intel LAN OPROM, that is for PXE. It's a Windows pre-boot environment so that you can install Windows through the network and you can boot from the network. We'll go ahead and leave those disabled. Okay, the video card is a Gen 4 card, so we'll put that at Gen 4. We don't have any other cards here. I've gone ahead and moved the sovereign to the very first PCIe M.2 slot. So I'll go ahead and set that to 4. And I don't have the Western Digital drive on the second because of the boot manager. And I'll talk about that in 1 second. Okay. Now this is the secondary SSD, the regular SSD drive plugged in the SATA port. Now, because I have the CPU liquid cooling pump connected to the CPU header, I'll set that to ignore, but I'll go ahead and move that to the pump header a little bit later on. Okay, so right now there is, even though there is both of those drives, they don't have Windows Boot Manager on them just yet. So we're not going to see them here. Don't freak out if you don't see that. This UEFI drive is the thumb drive. So what we'll do here is, actually, we won't do that right now. And we'll go under Tools. So we'll go under Save Changes and Reset. And okay. So now because the Windows drive is the only drive there is, or the Windows thumb drive is the only thumb drive, bootable drive there is, it's going to go ahead and boot off of that drive. Okay, so I've put both OSs on there, so I'll put 64-bit. Okay, and then I'll do next, install now. Well, I do have a product key. I'm not going to install it right now. Pro, next, or whatever version of Windows you have. Make sure to read through all of this. Ah, okay, I get it. And I accept the license term. Next, then we click custom. Here we're going to see two separate drives, the 500 gig, which is the regular SSD, and drive 1 unallocated space. This is the Sovereign drive, the 2 terabyte drive. So we'll click next, and now we're installing Windows. All right, so we'll just go ahead and reset that ahead of time. Now, just in case, I'm gonna go ahead back into the BIOS. And we're gonna go under boot. Perfect, okay. So now, because we have that thumb drive in there, it's still giving us the ability to boot off of that, but now we can see the Windows Boot Manager drive, the Sovereign drive. So we're gonna go ahead and select that. Actually, I'm sorry, we're gonna do that for drive number 1. Didn't see that there. And then we'll go ahead, save and exit. Okay, now we'll select United States or wherever you may be from. And yes, keyboard layout, whatever your keyboard layout may be. Now, because I'm connected to my Ethernet port through a Ethernet cable, of course, connected to my network, it's going ahead and downloading some updates and all that good stuff right now. Set up for personal use. And I'll do an offline account just for now. Limited experience because I don't want to play with that stuff. And Iggy, 1 sec while I enter my password. Okay, and use your face to sign in faster. No thanks. And we can just go ahead and leave this here. We can make changes if you'd like. I'll leave it. And no, I don't want to do activity history. And no, I don't want Cortana to do anything for me. It says several minutes, but this drive is super fast. So is the processor, so is everything in the system. Should only take a few seconds. All right, so now we are in Windows. I'm going to select no just for right now. This is something I could have enabled or disabled in the BIOS as well. So no, not for now. Okay, this is because I'm online. Now that we're online, we can just go to Edge and go to chrome.com, download Chrome. Now, I will say I like the newer version of Edge a lot better than this one, but still, I love my Chrome. Now, just because we're in Windows, it doesn't mean we're done. We still have to install all of the drivers and configure everything. Don't use the Microsoft drivers. All right, so now we have Chrome installed. Now here's the important part. So we'll go to asus.com. Okay, then we'll go to products, motherboards, ROG Republic of Gamers. And we'll select AMD 570. And then we'll look for the ROG Crosshair VIII Hero. We'll go to support and drivers. Now, you're going to need to select Windows 10, download the latest audio, latest LAN, the latest utilities, chipset. Don't download the chipset from here, and I'll show you in a second. Then we'll come over, we'll download SATA and the Armoury Crate. Okay, now for AMD, what I was saying about the chipset, we'll go to AMD.com, click over here, drivers and support page. Then we'll select chipset, AM4, X570, submit. and then we'll download and install this. Now, I already have all of these drivers right here. So what I'll do is I'll copy them over to my desktop. All right, and now very first thing we want out of here is the AMD chipset software. And while that's doing its thing, we'll come over here, type UAC, get rid of all those warning prompts. Though a lot of people like to have it on, I don't. All right, so we'll go ahead and install all this stuff and we'll do install. Chipset is incredibly important. When you build a house, you start with the foundation. Chipset is the foundation. And always pay attention to this. Restart is required. So when this is done, we'll go ahead and manually restart the computer. Okay, the way I like to do it is I like to click close here, and then I manually come over here and restart the computer. Okay, and then now that we're done restarting, come back over here. So unfortunately, it looks like the SATA drivers might be corrupt straight from the website. So I might have to take care of that a little bit later on. So then we'll go ahead and install the Ethernet drivers. So just copy them out of there. Paste them in here. Then we'll install the audio drivers, just copy them all. Okay, now Asus setup. Okay, Realtek audio installed. Looks like it did it in the background, oddly enough. Okay, no user interface. And the RAM cache, which I'm not sure I want to install that just yet, if anything. So then we'll install the Asus Armoury Crate. Now, because this is a single file, it's safe to install from within a zip file. Install Asus Armoury Crate in our creator, so we'll start that. Again, Windows gave us the ability to install from there because we left an option enabled in the BIOS. You're fine to leave that enabled. I'll probably go ahead and turn that off. Now, this gives us the ability to control all of the RGB lighting inside of the system. And while that's installing, we'll just come over here. We'll go to nvidia.com, drivers, GeForce drivers. Okay, so GeForce RTX 30 series, 3090. Okay, so we'll start that search. And we'll download the latest and the greatest. Now, while that's downloading, we can come back to this. Okay, so this is downloaded. We're not going to install it just yet, but what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and put it right in here. And we'll take care of that a little bit later on. Now, while that transition just happened, all of the RGBs in the system just did a little flash, and now they're all in sync. And I'll show you that in one sec. Okay, and we'll take care of this later. So now we'll go ahead and install the NVIDIA drivers. Agree and continue. custom. Even though there has never been anything NVIDIA installed here, we'll go ahead and perform a clean installation. All right, now that we're done there, uncheck that and we'll go ahead and restart now. Now I'm going to go into the BIOS because everything's already set up. I'm going to go ahead, move the memory to 4000 megahertz. Okay, now with that set, we're going to come over here to Tools and you'll see Asus Armoury Crate. This is what I left enabled to automatically download and install Armoury Crate. My preference, I want to do that. I want to make that decision. So then after that, save and exit. So now we have everything installed. Gonna come over here, Windows Update Settings. And I probably should have done this before, but that's okay. Check for updates. All right, so we'll just start downloading all of this stuff. Do all the Windows updates. All right, now that we've got the issue resolved with the AverMedia Live Gamer Portable 2 Plus, I needed to disable then re-enable HDCP. We can come over here and check out the Armoury Crate, how everything syncs up. You'll notice the motherboard, the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, the memory, and the fans. The fans are the Montech fans right over here. And the memory is the Patriot memory right up there. You'll notice the video card does not sync because we don't have an ARGB cable to connect from the video card to the motherboard, but I'll get one and I'll take care of that in a little bit. But because we have all of this, we can come to our effects, change all the effects over here. Let me show you the mouse, keyboard, and monitor. You can see the mouse, the keyboard, and back there, that little LED for the monitor. They're all synced up. So pretty cool the way that works. Now mind you, I can use EVGA Precision for the video card and get it to as close as possible unless I had that ARGB cable. But out of all that, now we're in Windows. All right, my friends, so I've shown you how to build the machine, wire the machine. I've shown you how to flash the BIOS, configure the BIOS, install Windows, and install all of the drivers. So I've shown you everything on getting a brand new computer up and running, even configuring the RGB lighting. Now, while I couldn't configure the video card, that's only because I don't have an ARGB video cable to connect from the video card to the motherboard, but we can always use Precision. But anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd love to get your feedback, maybe something I did that you didn't like in the video, or something you would have liked me to have done, or something you just found awesome. But anyway, again, this is Iggy with ThisBytesForYou, showing you guys how to 100% build and get your computer up and running. Iggy out. See you guys.